In 2020, 1,227 people died in Wisconsin related to opioids. It's the latest full year of data we have to look at. The Good Samaritan law is intended to save lives, but often people are afraid to call 911 when they see someone overdosing because they fear being arrested. Here today to talk more about this and local efforts to change some things are Dr. Ritu Bhatnagar. She is the president of the Wisconsin Society of Addiction Medicine and director of psychiatry at University Health Services, and Tanya Weber, who is a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner and member of the Wisconsin Recovery Advocacy Project. I want people to know that this legislation has changed a bit since the pandemic. So what are the current protections and benefits of those?
So right now they're actually, we have lost quite a few of the protections that were intended. The law in 2017 provided some wonderful protections both for the person who overdosed as well as the person who was assisting. And unfortunately, those laws sunsetted in 2020 with the pandemic, and it was brought up, and because of the pandemic, it didn't get brought forth for additional legislative action.
So now there's a local coalition trying to do that and maybe more. So who's involved in that effort?
So this is a community coalition and a partnership of providers that are very interested. We have community members, affected family members, a lot of really interested people that want to see the protections go beyond what they were to legislative efforts that will really help encourage people to get to treatment.
So give me an example of what you want to see that legislation include.
I would really, and this coalition has been really vocal about being clear that what we want are things that are going to help get people to treatment, not be afraid of punishment. So if somebody gets is in taking care of somebody with an overdose, they want to make sure both the person that has the overdose and the person that helps them have immunity from legal action. Maine has enacted some wonderful legislation related to this, and Wisconsin is so far afield right now that people are actually afraid to get help, as you mentioned.
Do you feel that legislators are willing to consider this? I mean, is there...
They were. It was a bipartisan effort back in 2017 with the HOPE legislation with Senator Nygren at the time. And unfortunately, what's happened is it's gone afield. Yeah.
I know that you, and I know you specifically have known people who have died from an overdose or opioid use addiction. Do you believe that by having this, some of those lives could be saved in the future?
Absolutely. Maine is a great example of that with their really robust Good Samaritan law. They have evidence that opioid overdoses have decreased and more people are getting into treatment, which is the most important part, is connecting people to treatment, because dead people don't recover. And that's really the most important part of the Good Samaritan law, is people need to be able to call 911 and not fear being arrested.
Try saving a life and doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much for being here. I want to give people a couple of resources here. There are 2 different websites that you can check out if you're interested in learning more about the coalition and some of this work that is and will continue to be done in Wisconsin. Are they up on your screen? Oh, good. Recovery, I wrote it down. I was going to read my paper, but recoveryvoices.com. You can check out that website, and then wissam-asam.com. Thank you both for being here.
Yeah.